It was a quiet night in Los Angeles, until the sky began to scream. At exactly 2:25 a.m., air raid sirens shattered the silence. Dogs barked, children cried, and in the distance, a strange light moved slowly above the city. This was no ordinary moment. Less than 3 months earlier, Pearl Harbor had been attacked. Over 2,400 Americans had been killed. The U.S. Pacific Fleet had been crippled, and the fear of a Japanese invasion was alive on every street. California was a prime target. Its coastline was lined with shipyards, aircraft factories, and military bases. The state had already felt the war's shadow. Just days before, a Japanese submarine had surfaced off Santa Barbara and fired shells at an oil facility. Proof that enemy forces could reach U.S. soil. So, when radar operators detected something approaching from the Pacific at 2 a.m. on February 25, 1942, nobody hesitated. The order came down, total blackout. From Santa Monica to Long Beach, lights went out one by one. Storefronts went dark. Street lamps blinked out. Entire neighborhoods vanished into shadow. In that heavy silence, the only sounds were the hum of generators and the distant thump of anti-aircraft guns being readied. At 2:25, a single searchlight swept the sky and froze. It had found something. Other beams joined it, converging on the same spot. There it was, a large, solid shape hanging in the night sky. Some soldiers described it as a massive silver airship. Others swore it was a perfectly round, glowing disk. Whatever it was not supposed to be there. Then came the order, open fire. The first barrage lit up the night like a thunderstorm. The sound was deafening, shells exploding high above, shrapnel raining down on the streets. Another volley, and another. In less than 5 minutes, the city was a battlefield. Over 1,400 anti-aircraft rounds were fired. Residents huddled in basements and under tables, the walls shaking with every explosion. Some ran into the streets, watching in disbelief as bright tracer fire arced into the sky. And still, the object remained. It moved slowly across the city, almost lazily, as if completely unharmed. Some claimed to see smaller shapes darting around it, like escort craft. Others said it hovered, motionless, defying gravity. For over an hour, the guns roared. By the time the firing stopped, the damage on the ground was clear. Shattered windows, punctured rooftops, cars riddled with holes. 6 people were dead. 3 killed by the falling shells. 3 more from accidents and heart attacks triggered by the chaos. But in the sky, nothing. No wreckage. No burning debris. No enemy planes fleeing toward the ocean. By dawn, Los Angeles looked like a city after a battle, but without a visible enemy. The press demanded answers. The Los Angeles Times published what would become the most famous image of the night. A cluster of searchlights focused on a glowing object in the sky. For some, undeniable proof that something was there. For others, nothing more than a photographic illusion. The official responses only deepened the mystery. The Army insisted it had been a Japanese air raid, claiming, without evidence, that enemy aircraft had been spotted and possibly shot down. The Navy contradicted them, saying it was a false alarm triggered by a weather balloon. 2 branches of the military. 2 completely different stories. And so the theories began. Theory 1, it really was a Japanese attack. But if so, where were the wrecks? Where were the survivors? Japan itself denied sending aircraft to Los Angeles that night, and no post-war records have ever surfaced to prove otherwise. Theory 2. It was a case of mass panic, fueled by wartime nerves and bad radar readings. Some meteorologists suggested that atmospheric conditions could have amplified light and made clouds appear as solid shapes. But how could that explain an object tracked by multiple spotlights, seen by thousands, and fired upon for over an hour? Theory 3, the most controversial of all, that the object wasn't Japanese or even human. Ufologists point to the object's slow movement, its apparent immunity to direct hits, and its sudden disappearance. They also highlight enhanced versions of the Times photograph, claiming they reveal a solid, saucer-shaped craft. Over the decades, eyewitnesses held to their stories. One woman who watched from her balcony as a child swore the object was enormous, like a floating building. A veteran anti-aircraft gunner later said, "We hit it. I know we hit it, but it didn't go down." The government eventually closed the file, labeling it an unconfirmed incident. But for many, it became something more, the Battle of Los Angeles. 80 years later, the questions remain. What was flying over Los Angeles that night? A misidentified aircraft? An experimental weapon? Or something we weren't meant to understand? Whatever the truth, the incident reminds us of one chilling fact. In moments of fear, the sky itself can become the battlefield. If you want to keep exploring mysteries that shaped our history, subscribe to Stories of Humanity. Because what happened that night could happen again.